Oh my god, I just shotgunned a beer.
Alcohol!
I think the beauty of my channel is that half of my videos are against a nice plain white background, and then the other half are like this, and you see me for who I really am.
My life is not together.
Hi guys, it's Nicole. So this is a video that I wanted to get up as quick as possible because I think it's something that I really need to address and, you know, talk about. A few days ago I took down my psych ward video and I didn't delete it, but I put it on private, and I want to explain why and then kind of talk about mental health a little bit more with you all. So I had gotten a comment, and I have it pulled up right here, I have the screenshot of it, from someone, and this really made me rethink everything. And the entire comment that she had written, I reflected on it, and like I wrote back, but I feel like that really wasn't enough.
This is what I'm referencing if you want to go ahead and pause your screen and read through it.
And I wanted to actually go out of my way and like personally talk about it with everyone, because I feel like I've given a very, I guess, it's just not the way that I wanted to talk about mental illness, and if I'm given this platform, that's something incredibly important, and I need it to be taken seriously and spoken about how it should be spoken about. So I'd like to readdress everything in a video where it doesn't seem as though I'm making fun of everyone because that was absolutely not my intention, and I do understand that it, like, watching it back after she had written that, I was like, that was absolutely not my intention, but it definitely came off that way. And I was like, if that had been like anyone else talking about that in a video, I would have been very angry. Just hearing the way that I was referring to other people, and I didn't like it. So I want to start over again and actually take the time out to like fully address mental illness, and to actually take the time out and fully address like mental illness and the psych ward experience. So I will start off by saying that yes, everything that happened in the video was true.
I will also start off by roasting the bags under my eyes. They're a designer.
But I downplayed the reason that I actually ended up in the psych ward. So while I said that I needed a medication change, and the only way that they could do that quickly was to admit me to the hospital, which was accurate, I needed a medication change because I was suicidal. And I was diagnosed with depression in, I think, somewhere in middle school, maybe like 7th grade. I have OCD. I was diagnosed with OCD when I was 7 years old. So I've been on medication my entire life. But it was a very, very bad time for me at the end of last semester, and I was admitted to the hospital for my safety, and they changed my medications, but I'm very glad that I went to the hospital, because I think although it was a terrifying and very uncomfortable experience for me, it was something that I needed to do to be safe. I tried to downplay it as just a medication change, and like I never thought that this many people would be watching my videos. I thought it'd be like friends or like people that know of me, and I didn't go into complete detail because I didn't want anyone to say that I was crazy. I was just afraid someone would like watch the video, someone that I know, and be like, whoa bro, like don't talk to Nicole, like she's crazy, she's insane. Like I wanted to downplay it so that I could still tell the story of what happened without seeming like I was there for a legitimate reason. But I think it's important that I clear that up. So right off the bat, when I was rewatching this, there was a comment that I had made that really, really bothered me, and it was when I was first being admitted, and I was in the holding room area, and there was a man, and I described him as going batshit crazy. The thing with that is that this man clearly had schizophrenia, or he was hallucinating or something like that, and for me to know that and still go out and, I guess, mock his mental health, I hate that. The way that the video came off when I watched it again was very, very bad, and that's not the tone that I had wanted it to be. And when I was filming and like when I uploaded it, I didn't think it came off that way. But after reading that one specific comment, I took a look at it again, and I completely agreed that I really did not handle it in the proper way. I think I had like 80 people watching me when I had uploaded my psych ward video, and over the past like week, I've been given a platform to speak out about things, and if I'm gonna sit here and speak out against the stigma against plastic surgery, I should also take a stand against the stigma against mental illness, because the truth is that it affects so many more people than you're probably aware of. I know, like, to the average person, if I'm just walking down the street, or if you see me and you interact with me for a few hours a day, you're not going to know what's going on. And it really takes people that are close to me and that have like known me over the course of a long period of time to like figure out, oh, this is what's going on with her, and she's not trying to do this on purpose, it's just how she is and she can't control it. It's not a choice, as the lady in the comment pointed out, and I'm completely aware it's not a choice. No one would ever choose to deal with that. It's serotonin and receptors and just things not wired in your brain properly. Mental health has always been an extreme issue for me, as well as probably a ton of other people. And I did have the intention of going back on my channel and like discussing every single aspect of it, but I feel like I can just do that now. And if you want more detailed accounts of whatever I talk about, please feel free to leave a comment below, and like I can definitely go into it. But I was diagnosed with OCD when I was 7 years old, around middle school, like 7th-ish grade, around the time that I started being bullied. I had depression and I was very suicidal in my middle school years, particularly 7th grade was when it was the worst. I was also pretty suicidal beginning of high school years as I was getting bullied for my nose. As people comment, like, I don't understand why she couldn't do that, why she couldn't just go to therapy. I've been in therapy all my life, and it gets to a point where therapy can only help so much. A huge part of my life is mental illness and dealing with it. So, you know, when I was in the hospital, I did feel like I was out of place because I was around everyone at once, and I think it's really an issue with the American health system and just like the way that hospitals are in general, when you have people that are, you know, drug addicts that are coming into the same place as someone with schizophrenia does, who's coming into the same place as a suicidal person, and it's just, they kind of just like put us all together and treat us as one, and that's not the way that it really works. That's not how you can help each person if you're just kind of grouping them together. In that sense, I felt really, really odd because I wasn't, you know, going through crack withdrawals. I wasn't seeing things. But that's still no place for me to really have made any comments. And I think what I really hate is how taboo mental illness is, because it's something that you can't see. And a lot of people just think it's not real, it's not really there. But, you know, you can scan the brain of someone with mental illness compared to the brain of someone who's like a neurotypical person, and they're completely different because things just don't send properly. You know, I've been on medication my entire life, playing around with medications, because sometimes they start working less. This has ruined relationships with a lot of people in my life, and not because I'm trying to. She brought up the possibility of me having 3/4 of the bipolar gene, which I wasn't aware was an actual thing. One of my relatives has bipolar disorder, and she was saying how it is possible for me to have inherited 3/4 of the gene but not the entire gene. And she was saying I probably have a mood disorder. And, you know, I've gone my entire life thinking it's just been like OCD and depression, but she made it clear that a lot of times people with mood disorders have been treated for depression all their life, and it takes a really long time for people to figure out, oh, it's not really depression, it's this. So she brought up the possibility of me having 3/4 of the bipolar 2 gene, but also she brought up borderline personality disorder. And my mom had actually told me to look into that, and I did. And I read about it, and it fit me to a T. And I'm not self-diagnosing, but I know that I have some sort of mood disorder, and I've been told I have some sort of mood disorder, and there's no way for them to ever confirm what it is, if I have that gene or if it's borderline personality. Like, there's no way for them to ever know. There's no like particular test you can do. You can screen for it by like asking questions, but there's never a confirmation. You have to play around with medication and get that right. So the thing with my medication is, as I was being treated for depression, the lady was explaining to me how the medication will work for a little bit, and then with people who have mood disorders and not particularly depression, it kind of stops working, and then they have to start something else, and then like it works well for a while and then it kind of stops. And that's basically what had been happening to me, because, you know, when I'm good, I'm really good. I'm absolutely, completely fine. But when I'm bad, I'm dangerously bad, and that's kind of the scare of this. I have ruined a lot of relationships with other people, and that's not something that I wanted to do or tried to do. And, you know, I always, like, I think about these things all the time. I've had friends that I would literally just blow up at when I was angry, and then as soon as I finished, I'm completely fine. That's definitely hurt a lot of people in my life. I guess I shouldn't have to explain myself, but I feel the need to explain myself because that's something that like bothers me to this day, and I think about like how I could have handled things if I was in like a very, very rational state of mind, but I wasn't at the time, and I didn't even know that this was a possibility of a thing that I was dealing with, you know, saying very hurtful things to the people that I love. And again, I want to relate this back to the comment that the lady had read in, that nobody chooses to have mental illness, but again, I think it's extremely, extremely important to talk about it, and the way that I had spoken about it in my psych ward video was not the way, it was not the tone that I wanted surrounding mental illness. And I think if I'm gonna have a platform, I'm gonna use it correctly, you know? You shouldn't insult people that have mental illness or call them crazy. I think calling someone crazy or insane, someone who actually has a mental illness, and saying, oh, they're crazy, they're insane, like, don't mess with them, like, they're not okay, that's very hurtful rhetoric, and it's not something that should be used. And, you know, that's kind of the way that I was talking about it, in an effort to seem more normal, like I was the normal one, and like there was no reason really for me to be in there, because I knew that people would watch it, and I didn't want anyone commenting like, well, Nicole, you were in the psych ward, like, you're also crazy, you're insane, you're not okay. And I didn't want anyone to say that, but there's nothing to be ashamed of if you have this. There's so many people with it. There's so many people dealing with mental illness, and it's really, really important to talk about. I've had anxiety my whole life, and that kind of ties in with the OCD. Like, I get anxiety from, if, like, I'll give you an example. Say I knock my water bottle over. I have to pick it up, and then in my head I'll be like, if I don't place it in this particular place within the next like 3 seconds, like something bad is gonna happen to my little brother tomorrow. And in my head, like, I'm completely aware that that's not possible. Like, there's no way that those two events could correlate, but I have to do it anyways just to soothe my mind, because otherwise my mind is gonna keep going and keep going. Say that I'm telling my mind like, no, I don't have to do that, and then I put my water bottle somewhere that my brain said not to. I'll have anxiety for a very, very, very long time just knowing that I didn't do what my OCD told me to do, and it's a very vicious cycle of that, and really the only way that I've really been coping with it. Last semester, I slept all the time because sleeping would basically like calm my brain. That would be me turning my brain off for a little bit, because my head just is constantly spinning. And, you know, going back to my nose made me extremely anxious going out in public. I would have panic attacks because I felt like everyone was looking at me, like I would have to leave the room. And this is like something that I didn't really address in either of my videos, but there were some days where I'd be in the cafeteria, you know, there's like 300 something people there, and I just feel like everyone's looking at me, and I would have to leave, and I would eat lunch in the bathroom because I felt so uncomfortable. And, you know, even if no one was saying anything, I was so uncomfortable and very anxious with myself. And I would just have very, very bad social anxiety, you know, being around, especially people that I didn't know, you know, hadn't met before, because I wasn't sure what they were gonna say. And it all kind of just like relates back to each other, all of this. The message that I want everyone to get out of this video is to, I guess, you know, watch the way that you refer to certain people who you know are suffering from mental illness, because there's definitely a very, very large social stigma attached to it, and there are certain words that are not okay to use, or, you know, when used they're very, very hurtful and they're harmful, because, you know, other people begin to pick up on this language, and it's very negative language that, you know, you don't want to be associated with, and then everyone kind of becomes hush about dealing with their own mental illness because you don't want to be associated with being crazy or insane. But you can deal with this and be successful. I'm sitting here, my channel like blew up within a week. It just, I don't know what happened, but hello, you can still have this and not let it hold you back. You just have to really, really work towards it. If you're dealing with it now and you're not on medication and you're not going to therapy, I highly recommend looking into these things, because I know firsthand, like, it helps so much having that support system of therapy and, you know, having medication that help regulate what's going on with your brain to kind of just get you back up on your feet. So if this is something that you are struggling with, I think it's very, very important to talk to someone about it, and don't keep it hidden. Don't let it destroy you. If you need help, get help. There's nothing wrong with having depression. There's nothing wrong with having OCD or having anxiety or being bipolar or having borderline personality disorder or whatever is going on with me right now. There's nothing wrong with any of that. It happens to some people, and that's a fact of life, but it's something that should be addressed, something that needs to be addressed. I have a very, very large guilty conscience, as I've said before, and it really wasn't sitting right with me that this commentary that I made in that video had upset someone, and then I watched it back and it upset me as well. I didn't like it. It wasn't right, and I wanted to clear all that up right now. That was not my intention to offend anyone, because if I had seen that and it wasn't me talking to the camera and I didn't know myself, I would have been offended as well. It didn't come off properly, and I really wanted to apologize for that and kind of go into depth to talk about it a little bit more. I think that's kind of all I wanted to say. So I just want to thank you guys for watching. I love you, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.
That's the way every day goes. Every time we've no control. If the sky is pink and white, if the ground is black and yellow, it's the same way you showed me.